You are listening to the People-Centric Podcast, where we talk through the toughest challenges that people face at work and give practical advice to fixing those challenges. Thanks for joining our movement to create workplaces that are happier, healthier, aligned, and empowered by putting people at the center of all that we do.
People-centric leaders, am I excited to be able to see you again? And I say see you because I think this is a good reminder. I see myself and I see Diana. I'll get to her in just a second, but we're on YouTube. Like, you can listen to us. Maybe you've listened to us for a while. You can go check us out on YouTube if you want the nonverbals and the entire experience. But I'm excited that you're here with us for this podcast. And this is something that I think you're going to enjoy. We are wrapping up the year. We are at year end when the holiday season, the holiday traditions abound for all types of different types of traditions and people. For me, you know what that means? It's time to sit on Santa's lap and talk about the things that we're wishing for. I had this. I'm just going to give total transparency here. I was on a walk a little bit ago. It's a nice, Diana, I don't know what it's like in Washington, but in Missouri right now, it's 65 and sunny, and it's December the 7th.
It's not very like Santa winter wonderlandish, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was in short sleeves and shorts, just taking a walk around the block, just trying to get my body in motion there and thinking. And I thought, Diana and I have this podcast, and I wonder if this idea might work. And you know what? I'm pretty excited about it. For many of you, this resonates. You sit on Santa's lap, you talk about the wishful things that you're hoping that you get, and your parents are in the background going, "That's not going to happen, right?"
I want a pony.
Let them down gently, Santa. That's not going to happen. But for some of these things, I'm not putting you or myself on Santa's lap. I am imagining the conversations that maybe CEOs, managers, department heads, however, leadership of organizations. I'm putting that hat on and sitting on Santa's lap based on the experiences and conversations that we've had with folks all year. All year, I'm thinking about what are those things that I think that they are going to be asking Santa for this year towards the end of the year. And it's not just about the managers and the leaders too. There's an employee experience based off of this. You might be listening to this podcast as a frontline employee going, "What's in it for me?" Ironically, it's going to be a lot of the same things. Diana, you just talked about that, and I'll let you maybe say hello and talk about why you're excited about this topic. But for a lot of times, the employees want the same things as managers, maybe in a different type of ask, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna start out this by saying I will not sit on Santa's lap, and I don't care about the holidays. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I'm bah humbug Scrooge, and that is what I'm gonna go with. But I can get behind the wishful thinking and the planning for next year and the things that I want to see from leaders next year. I can get behind that, you know. Yeah,
Yeah, but I've seen your tree. You have a nice, beautiful tree there in the front room. You like baking all the things. You get caught up in the spirit too. I mean, next
I
next Friday,
only
this is just a behind the scenes for the folks out there. Next Friday, Diana's flying into town. She's coming to town. Instead of Santa, it's Diana's coming to town. And we're excited about it. We're going to get together, have our people-centric year-end celebration together. We have some gift giving there, and I'm excited to see what everybody got. But Diana has a hard candy shell. We've talked about this earlier, but on the inside,
listen.
you're
The
festive.
tree is only for the family. It's not for me.
Right.
I don't like it. But if it's gonna be in my house, it better be spectacular. That's
Yeah,
what I
it better be good. Well, it is good. I've seen it. And, I've been there. I've gotten to go
know.
to Washington and see it. And I know exactly where it is. I know exactly
I
where it's
know.
there. And
I
so it's
know.
good to have that context. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Some of the things that I believe, based off of the experience of not only working with some folks, but maybe even just hearing from managers at different conferences that I've been speaking at, business owners alike. I'm kind of using that term generically. They're people in leadership positions at organizations, right? People in managerial leadership positions at organizations. What are some of the things that they have maybe been asking for? And what do I think that they're hoping for at the end of the year for their specific organizations? And I think number one on the list, which is amazing, is we need a perfect communication system. Now, right off the bat, Diana, maybe what's wrong with that thought?
Well, a perfect is probably a stretch, right? That's not the perfect is hard. Um, but
Yeah.
I will say that is the number one thing we hear from organizations, hands down, every time. I've never walked into a company where they're like, our communication stellar. We excel at it. No one has ever said that. Ever, ever, ever. And so yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Not just managers want that. Guess what? Employees want that too. So this is
Mhm.
like the perfect wish for everybody.
Yeah.
So what does that mean though when you say you want better communication? What does that look like? What does that mean?
And I think this is a great question because we do a communications workshop, a communication styles workshop. And it is, by the way, if you're looking for a sweet team builder, give us a call because people love it. People love,
It's
we
so
have
fun.
traveled far and wide to deliver this topic. And what's amazing about that is we have no less than, I don't know, 20 different communication tools at our disposal now. Like we have more access to people than ever before. Whoever's listening to this podcast, just think about your own organization. You call people, you text people, you email people, you Zoom people, you Teams people, you Slack people. I mean, there's social media platforms now. There's different apps in the workplace that you can come together to be able to project. Like we have so many communication
So
tools.
much.
And sometimes from the leadership's perspective, it's like, I wish my employees would actually use it. But sometimes from the employee's perspective, it's like, which one do you want me to freaking use? I have which bright shiny toy do you want me to use right now? In fact, we've gotten maybe inundated, I think, to a point as well. And so I think for organizations, they're saying, man, we need help with communication, which again blows a lot of people's minds because that's always at least number two on the ask list that people give us a call for.
Yeah,
Please
at
help us with
least.
communication. It's broken. Now, some of you are accidentally set up to fail. You're accidentally set up to fail because you are diversified. We are remote. We are working in many different types of locations. I have these two different departments reporting to six different managers. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Sometimes, the lack of communication transparency starts with your org design and the way that you set it up. And so maybe taking a step back from that is a good opportunity. Organizations that have poor communication, Diana, let's talk about this. Like they might not even have to tell us that that's the thing. But if we walked into an organization and and communication was a struggle, like what are the types of things you might see or hear out of an organization where it's clearly broken? They haven't said it's broken, but we can just see and hear certain things.
Yeah, I think the biggest red flag that I look for is the us versus them language, right? When people start saying like, "Wow, that those people over there, them at the top," right? Instead of we or us, because you're all on the same team, you're all working for the same company. But when the communication gets really off, it starts that like narrative of, yeah, we're all on the same team, but we're not working for the same stuff, right? I do this job, they do this job, and we are not aligned. We are not together. We are not the same. We don't have the same goals, we don't have the same values, right? And I think that's one of the ones that I look for when I'm like, is communication broken here?
Oh yeah.
And the other one is like, well, go ahead, you
I was
say.
I was just I was just gonna say you'll also hear from like the frontline employee level, like we're always the last one to know what goes on
Yep,
around this place.
yep.
I don't even ask questions anymore. I learned a long time not to ask questions anymore. I just keep my head down and go to work. And now some people in leadership might be like, perfect, that's exactly what I would like you to do. But I don't know if that's the best approach to be able to let that happen too. You're trying to create engagement here. I think one of the best opportunities to create engagement and buy-in is to be transparent up front. As transparent as you can be without divulging all the company secrets. I get it, but as transparent as I can be to be able to trust the frontline employees to be able to help us accomplish these things that they want to help you accomplish.
Yeah. And I also think when we hear things like, I don't know what they want from me, I've told them 1,000 times, right? I've told them, I sent an email, I have this thing, right? Well, if the information still isn't getting to them for whatever reason, there's a disconnect. There's still something broken. So we have to figure out what that broken thing is and why it's broken still.
Mhm. I'm going to jump off the manager leadership one, and I'm going to drop down and use one of the employee lists. So now it's the employee's turn to sit on Santa's lap or whatever. Not like Diana's not doing it, but this is what the employees I bet would ask for in the wishful thinking stage. And let's see if you guys agree with this. But I hear this all the time. Employees want the opportunity to do something other than just the job that they were hired for. Now, this might frustrate maybe people in leadership going, I hired them for that position because that's something that I need them to do. But if you're also in that leadership position and you're worried about things like engagement, buy-in, and retention, then I better look for opportunities, especially for those highly engaged ones, to be able to stretch their legs out on something else than what they were just kind of hired to do. I don't want to make the widget for 10 hours a day all the time. I mean, I'm good at it, and that's what you hired me to do, but I'm also capable of doing some more things. So one, I guess, Diana, why do the employees desire that? And two, what are some of the benefits for leadership if they give them the opportunity to try some of those things?
Yeah. So I think, employees are adults and we talk about adult learning theory, and people who want to be part of something bigger, people want to have autonomy, people want to feel like they're doing a good job. And all of that comes from varied experiences and new growth and new opportunities and the ability to take on things that live within their strengths that maybe they don't get to do every day. The adult learning theory shows that like humans naturally want those things. And the crazy part is every time we talk to a manager will be like, "Oh, I want engaged employees." And then we say, like, "What have you done to engage them? What are you doing to help them feel better at work and feel like they want to take on things and have opportunities to do that?" And it's like, well, they're not doing their current work. Okay, well, man,
Yeah,
you
guess we can always
want
find.
things.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
guess we can always find something. I think that this takes us to another thing that I know leadership is really, really after. But if you give employees the opportunity to work on some things that maybe are not technically their job, but do align with some of the skill sets that they could potentially bring to the table, you know what that helps leadership do? Succession planning. Succession planning. You have an idea. We used to do a topic, and we haven't done this for a while. Maybe we should bring this back too, but it was called hidden gems. And hidden gems, the idea of hidden gems as a leadership topic was sometimes when we're like, you know what, I need somebody that can do this, and I'm in leadership, then I need to look outside of the organization to bring somebody in. And the reason why it's called hidden gems is because in a lot of cases, those people that you're searching for already work there. We just haven't given them an opportunity to be able to maybe do some of those things. So we would argue that they're the benefit of giving them the opportunity to work on some of those things is that it's going to kind of give them a renewed sense of purpose. They're going to feel like, man, I'm helping this organization succeed. I'm going to feel valued because you're tapping me on the shoulder and you're trusting me with some of these different things to be able to work on. But the benefit for you is now you have an idea of what they're capable of. Isn't part of management being able to build the most dynamic team that I can build? And if I'm hoarding those things and not giving some people the opportunities to do that, I just said some people, and I recognize I said some people. I get it. There might be some other people that you do not want to unleash and give them the opportunity to do certain things. So it's part of understanding the strengths of the folks that you have there. But boy, the benefits of being able to feed some of those different tasks to folks that have some skill set in that, to bring them to the table as an engaged, renewed sense of purpose employee. Man, that is a lot of street cred for you, manager, if you can find ways to be able to engage the folks like that. So, anything
And
else to add to that one?
yeah, it helps with retention too, right? Because then people aren't bored and people don't feel stagnant and people feel like they have a path and that they're contributing something great. Like people want that. And granted, I'm saying people, I know some people are like, nope, I'm totally happy in the job that I'm doing and I just like this thing, and that's great too. But the people who want that should be able to get that, and that only benefits them and the organization as they go along and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And this, piggybacks onto the next managerial one, the leadership one that I was going to bring up. But I hear this quite a bit. I had a phone call with a business owner this morning, trying to get us in to do a team retreat. And one of the topics at the team retreat that they want us to talk about is how do we get our people to buy into what it is that we're doing, that we're trying to do. And so I can imagine, okay, it's manager leadership's opportunity to be able to say what it is. This is what we're hoping for. It's not a pony. It's bought in and engaged employees. That's what we would like. Bought in and engaged employees. And I've seen so many actions that go counter to this. And what I mean by that is leadership of organizations not doing the things that you would do to be able to create that thing, but they're still hoping that that thing comes into some sort of an existence, right? They're going through the motions, wondering why that's not happening. But there's some things that they're doing, and maybe we could take this approach with it, Diana. Some things that they're doing that is not creating the space for people to become bought in and engaged. And maybe do you have thoughts on like what those things that we see organization leaders doing that you're not creating the space for that to happen because you're doing
Yeah.
these types of things?
So many things, but I think the main one that really diminishes the engagement is micromanaging, right? I've told you what to do, exactly how to do it. I have planned the project. I've given you the SOP. I'm telling you this is the way, and I'm not giving you any autonomy or space to think and use your actual brain and do something good, right? Like I'm telling you. I think one of the other things is going against core values and not thinking through those things when they give a project, right? They're just
Yeah.
saying, here's our project, but they're not thinking about their core values like respect and trust and uh, humility and all those things that an organization puts out there and says this is what we live by, but then they don't actually live by that, and that causes a
Yeah.
lot of disengagement.
Oh yeah, I would add to that too. I like both of those points, but I would add to that as well that we do a lot of different workshops at conferences and things, and leaders, they're asking for certain types of culture influencing topics, which we bring a lot of that content. Our newest one though is called delegation. We've already booked that one a few times for next year, where they want us to go do a couple of hour workshop on this idea of delegation. You know why? Because we stink at it. Not we. We're pretty good at it. That's why we're teaching it. But you all struggle. You struggle hard with delegation. And we do this as humans,
Fun
right?
fact, I struggle, Matt, with delegation.
Yeah, we struggle with delegation, and for I won't get into it, but we struggle with delegation for so many different reasons. There's different reasons that we would say that we struggle with delegation. But fast forwarding, if I struggle with delegation and I'm not kind of giving my folks the opportunity to buy into something because I've kept them out of it all the way up in the creation of the thing that I'm hoping that they didn't latch onto, but they haven't seen the thing until I say, "Good news, here's the thing. Go get it, Tiger." And all of a sudden, I want you to think about it like this. You're creating robots. You're not creating engaged employees.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't know if that's what you're after. I know why you're doing what you're doing. And I'm not saying you're sabotaging on purpose. Absolutely not. You're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to do the best thing. But without the opportunity to be able to delegate some of those responsibilities and bring people in earlier in the process, you're going to have a hard time creating buy-in and engagement from those employees that you desperately want that buy-in engagement from.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's go to the next one. That's a couple for the managers list. Let's go to another one here, and I'm sure you have thoughts on this. And you might be surprised that this is on the employee list here, but I would bet, based on conversations, the amount of people I interact with, there's going to be people that march up there and sit on Santa's lap and say, you know what I want? My organization to have an actual fair annual performance
Mm.
evaluation. I want
Yeah.
I want to know if I'm doing well or not. And that might surprise you because I just heard a lot of managers gasp there going, no, 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 they don't want to know if they're not doing well. That's not true. They do. I think what we have seen is annual performance evaluation processes that either don't exist or they're set up poorly. And maybe let's just talk about that. Why does it need to maybe exist, but maybe not in the traditional sense that some folks are accustomed to?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are used to those annual or semi-annual performance evaluations where they get a list of things and they're like, we've rated you 1 through 5 on all of these things. And they're shocked by some of the numbers, right? Like, why did I get a 2 in this? Well, because 6 months ago you did this thing that I didn't like and I wrote it down and I never talked to you about it and I never engaged you on it. But I told you it was, I'm telling you now, I'm telling you got a 2 instead of a 5 because of this thing that you had nothing to know about or couldn't fix in the time that you had. So I think people hate the surprise. I think they hate the length of time that goes between it. I think they hate the um sort of ranking system that gets tied to them and their inability to move that if they can. I think there's a lot of reasons
And
that
it's
it's
emotional too. Like this entire conversation is based around me, my performance, what you think of me. It's tied to my money. Like there's a lot going on with this conversation, which honestly sets us up for failure. Now, some of the managers listening, I realize you work for a large organization that you have no control over what this performance evaluation process looks like. However, what I would encourage you to do is maybe set up some regular one-on-ones with your folks so you can kind of stay in tune with them throughout the year, so it's not just waiting for that one once a year, let me tell you what I think about you, but honestly you don't remember what I did in February. This is a
Yeah.
60-day evaluation. This is not an annual performance evaluation. So if you can maybe, I recognize some of you, again, might work for an organization where you have no control over not doing it. You have to do it. I came from an organization like that. I
Yeah.
have to do it. But maybe if you could create some more communication touch points along the way and really build that relationship with your folks, then that year-end performance evaluation is going to go much more smoothly for you. I
Yeah.
would imagine too.
Yeah.
Can I add one other too? And let me just add, I don't know if there's any board members listening right now. Maybe you're on the board of an organization or an association. One of the most recent things that we did as far as the strategic planning process, we have what's called a pathfinder. We have a strategic planning process, in addition to just the regular partnerships. But one of the organizations that we just recently went through this with started because I got a phone call from the president, CEO of the organization who reported to a board. And the ask from the president and the CEO, and this is mind blowing, and I think it's an example of humble leadership, which I'm a big fan of. The ask was, I would like the board, and I would like your help with in helping the board create an annual, like a performance, some sort of a performance evaluation, not for my frontline people, but for me as the CEO, as the president, as the person running it. I don't have that in my life. And for some of you,
Yeah.
you might be going, why would he? That sounds like the perfect gig, right? You just go, as long as the doors are open, you're killing it, right? Just collect
Yeah.
your check and go. But this guy, I've accidentally almost slipped and said his name 3 times. I'm not going to do that. But this guy was going, I need that because just for me personally, I want to know that I'm doing well in the eyes of the people that are trusting me to do
Yeah.
well for this organization. And it was kind of a small town deal, and some of the folks on the board were like, we appreciate that he's asking for it. And honestly, they were basing on, is it going well or not, by how many complaints they got from the general public, right?
Yeah.
There's got to
Yeah.
be something more to that. And so this isn't just a thing where managers are needing great employees. Hopefully, if you're in the manager or leadership role, you're asking for the same type of thing, right?
Yeah. And I think that's super universal. I mean, I'll admit that I'm not a great feedback person. I'm not good at managing feedback. If I'm not saying that you're doing bad, then you're doing good. That's kind of no news is good news. And every time I have an evaluation on me, my employees always say, I need more feedback from you, right? Everybody wants the feedback. They want to know they're doing a good job, or they want to know they're doing a bad job because they want to fix it. So, yeah, definitely an employee wish and hopefully a manager wish too.
Yeah, I would say that would go universally, like you said there too. All right, just a
Yeah.
couple of more here. For the manager's perspective, gosh, we hear this a long time or a lot. We've heard it for a long time. And it's not industry specific either, but how often do we hear, you know what I want, Santa, is I want the managers that actually hold their people accountable. As a leadership team, I want managers that actually hold the employees accountable. And this is another one of those that can get squirrely. In fact, if you don't know that that's the issue, you could just spend some time in the organization and we can feel that. Like we can pinpoint that and go, "Damn, there's a lack of accountability in this place." And you can see just the chaos that kind of ensues there too. Why is it, Diana, that managers don't hold people accountable anyway?
Because accountability is hard.
It's
It's
hard
hard
and it's
to do.
uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable, it's hard, it's sometimes nebulous, right? Like there's no set procedure for accountability, right? So it's hard. It goes kind of to that evaluation, like, oh, I'll write it down and I'll tell them in a year, right?
Right.
Just doing it effectively is really difficult. And a lot of times it's subjective, right? Are you getting the work done that I think you should be getting done? Or, oh, but you've told me you have this other work, and so maybe you're doing that instead. And it's accountability is
Yeah.
hard.
I think this is one of those too, like in your new hire manager onboarding. I bet this isn't even covered in most organizations. Like, I'm going to take you through the technical stuff that this is what you do to write up your employees if they're not doing what it is that they need to be doing. This is how you go through the payroll process. If you have any HR issues, this is how you report it. Technical issues, here's the number to the IT team. But it's like I don't think that it ever goes into, let's walk through what may be a difficult conversation or holding the team accountable looks like, and how do I do that, and let's talk about why that's important. It seems like that's one of those next level managerial things that honestly, people typically reach out to us for and say, dang, we are struggling with this. Can you help give us some perspective or do kind of a workshop around this idea? And we're always happy to do that. But it's not something that's just a part of the training. If you graduated and got your degree, you're super excited to take a leadership role. That was not one of the classes that you took to be able to get that degree, right? This is a next level kind of a thing. And again, we're taking it from the perspective of manager to employee, but your employees want it also. Your
Yeah.
employees desire to work for organizations that have accountability standards too.
Yeah.
I
And
don't,
to your
they're
point,
not.
I have a master's in business and never had a single class on accountability. That just
Right.
wasn't a thing. They don't teach it. It's not a
Yeah.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And right now more than ever, I'm just going to kind of say maybe it's an elephant in the room where there's a lot of people going, I can't hold accountability because they'll leave. And I can't hire people because that's a thing too. And so, I agree. I think some of the ones might leave if we start to have harder conversations with them. But if you don't and just avoid all of those conversations, you're going to lose people also. The problem with that is you're going to lose the good ones that
Yeah.
did want to work in an environment that did have some kind of structure to it, that did have some level of accountability to it. Those highly engaged people want that. And that's what
And
you'd be losing.
And I know this is in the manager column, right? This is a manager wish list, but I bet that a lot of employees would say the same thing.
Yep.
Like, no, I do want it to be fair. Like, I'm busting my butt over here, but Joe Schmo is lazy and can take 100 days off and call in every day. And I'm
Yeah.
picking slack for that. I would love it if somebody would hold Joe accountable. That would be great.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yep.
I think it's an employee wish too.
Universal. Good. Man, we're seeing a lot of symmetry here between the two
Much,
lists. A
so
lot of
much.
symmetry. All right, one more that I have, and then I'll open it up and
No,
see if
go
you
for
have
it.
anything else to. Okay. One
Okay.
more that I have. I bet the employees would say, you know what I want as an employee at my organization? I want managers that actually listen to the things that I'm trying to bring up. I want managers that actually take time to actually listen because we hear quite a bit of it from organizations where this is a struggle and those employees all of a sudden they just got tired of raising the flag that they don't raise the flag anymore. And for managers
Yeah.
that are listening or leadership that's listening right now, you're going, perfect. How long did that take? Right. I want to build that process. You don't want that. You don't
Yeah.
want that. I think the charge for managers is, are you doing a good job of creating a space where people can raise the flag, even if it's uncomfortable for you? Employees desire managers that listen, managers that take time. And you might be sitting there going, manager, oh no, I have an open door policy. They can come to me whenever. I don't even know if that's good, right? Open door, we equate to open chaos. Maybe it needs to be a little bit more intentional than that. Managers that listen are also maybe the managers that are proactive with the time. So if I'm managing Diana, I might say, hey, Diana, let's just get together once every couple of months or whatever that is, once a quarter, once every 30 days. And I just want to create the space. Even if there's nothing earth shattering that you have, I just want to create the space. I want to make
Yeah.
sure that you have a space to be able to say what it is that you think that you need to say. So you think
Yeah.
that's a universal one also? You think that goes both ways?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no person on earth that doesn't want to be heard. There's no one I mean, everybody wants to feel like they have a voice, like they're being heard when they're bringing up things. Everybody wants to feel like there's some intent behind words and actions, right? And I think that that's a super universal one. And it sort of ties to the one that I had, which was the wish list for everybody is I want to feel like I'm cared about at work as a human, not just as like a number and an employee and like part of the cog in the wheel, I want to feel like I'm cared for, like somebody listens to me, like somebody actually knows me, cared about.
The amount of people that just threw up in their mouths just a little bit when you said that is
I
probably
hate it too.
astrology. But it's important. I
Yes, it
say this, I
is.
say this quite a bit. I know we've done other podcasts about this topic here. Happy's not the goal, right? Some people are going, why do I have to make sure that they're happy? Why do I pay them to do a job? Please do your job. But in this day and age, especially if you struggle with this already, the younger generation has a very low tolerance for working for leadership and managers that do not make sure that they understand that I have a life outside of here and it was my choice to come work for you.
Yep.
Right? That's a different narrative than than days of old, I guess I should say
And
there.
that narrative changed quickly. I'm going to tell managers like that changed within the last 5 years, maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like a quick, okay, the workforce is different now. The older generation who kind of was like, I'm gonna be here forever. I'm gonna do this thing and I'm okay. And as long as you pay me, I'm okay. That's gone. Those days are over. You have
Yeah.
to care. people to work for you because they have chosen to work for you.
Not because you're touchy-feely, but because if you do, they also will work harder to help you succeed.
Yeah.
That's kind of the
I
kicker.
I hate it. I hate that that is true. I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I hate it. I hate that it's
Hate
true.
is such a strong word.
It's but it's so because it's so hard for me. It's so I am one of those people that I'm like, listen, they pay me to do a job. I do that job. I do it super well, and I go home, and I don't need any of the other stuff, right? I think Matt, you made fun of me because I don't share. I hadn't shared a lot of my life in the past, and it was a struggle to get me to even share the things that I shared now. Um, but I have grown, and I think that sharing and caring, bleh, um, has totally improved the way that we work. It really has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I think you're going to find it not as a want as we continue to move forward, but it's going to be kind of a must. It's
Yeah.
going to be kind of a must
Yeah.
because you're trying to attract talent there. Not to say you might have employees that are like Diana too, and they need less of that, right?
Oh,
But at the end of the day, if we can boil it all the way down to, but they still want to know if they're doing well in your eyes. Like they still want to know they're doing well or not well. Like it's got to be at least to that. It's got to be
yeah.
at least to that that feedback there. So the nice thing is, we kind of couched this whole idea here as a wish list for the end of the year for whatever your holiday traditions might be. Again, I equated it to sitting on Santa's lap and talking about these are the things that I'm wishing for, that I'm hoping for. It's a wish list, and hopefully some of those hit the mark for you. You're going, dang, that's true. I would ask for that. I would hope for this. I would wish for that. The nice thing is none of these have to be really wishes or imaginative anyway. Like these are the things that we
And
do.
make it happen.
You
Yeah.
can totally make that happen. All of these things that we talked about here, it's not a Yahtzee moment, but all of these things that we talked about here, we work in, we play in, we enjoy doing, and frankly, we're good at. We're good at connecting these dots for organizations and employees, managers alike. We're good at bridging those gaps between frontline and leadership. We're good at bridging the gaps between leadership, executive teams, and boards. We are ultimately, I think, Diana, what struck me most maybe is I have these two lists separated. If you want to know behind the scenes, there's my notes for what this looks like here.
Here's
But
mine.
on our people centric letterhead there. But if you want to know behind the scenes, like I had those two things separated out, but the symmetry, like we used earlier, between the two lists, we all kind of want the same things.
Yeah.
Our approach and how we go about getting there, or maybe our desire for wanting it in the first place might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But
The motivation's
the
different. Sure.
motivation's different. Yeah, but we all kind of want the same thing. So,
Yeah.
anything to add before we move to close?
Well, I'll say that also all of these topics, communication, accountability, performance evaluations, uh, yeah, we have whole podcasts dedicated to all of those things. And I'll try to find a few and link them in the show notes so that you guys can easily be like, oh yeah, I want one on engagement. I want one on accountability, and I'll link it in there. But look through our old podcasts. We have covered these topics. Absolutely have content for that. And if you can't find it or you want something more specific, you can always reach out to us. We're always happy to talk to you.
Yeah, we're always happy to talk to you. We love engaging with our listeners, so please feel free to reach out. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you share it. Hope you took something away from it. And hey, you know what? Instead of just other topics, we don't say this a lot, but if you took something from one of the podcasts and used it, turned it into a win, man, we would love to hear that win. Also, we want to celebrate that success with you. We would love to help cheer you on as you are trying to apply some of these things.
Do you mean you want to hear that you're doing a good job at the podcast?
Want to hear I'm
Is that
killing
what
it.
you're saying?
Yeah, I want to hear that I'm killing
That's
it,
right.
and maybe you guys can vote on who your favorite podcaster is. I don't know if we want to go there, but I would appreciate
Don't
that.
do that. I will cry. I will cry when I
All
find out
right.
that I am the least liked person.
Oh, that's not true. You have fans all over the place. You hear from them. Hey, everybody, we appreciate you very, very much. Hope you have a great year end of whatever organization you're working for, whatever role that you have. And as always, we appreciate your listening. Share it. Can't say it enough. We appreciate you listening. Love you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the People Centered Podcast. We are so grateful for you joining us every week. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Also, feel free to share on your social media with everyone that you know. It really does help us. If you would like to contact us, I have put our information in the show notes. Please reach out anytime. We love hearing from you. We will be back next week with a new topic. Until then, be well and lead well.